What are you holding on to that no longer serves you? Is there something in your life that you are clinging to almost desperately that really isn't serving you? It isn't working out, the clinging, the grasping, the holding on to. What are you holding on to that no longer serves you? The question for me is inspired by an article. Once again, I'm often reading something, an article where a man was talking about how he worked for an older woman, a very wealthy woman, who had multiple storage units, multiple, and each one was larger than his studio apartment. And they were just filled with four printers and all of these things, like houses worth of belongings. And he began to sort of contemplate what's behind our holding on to things. How we can actually pay over years for storage and even forget what we have inside. And yet the concept and idea of letting these possessions go, letting these belongings go, that we no longer are aware of what they are exactly. We no longer remember what's in there, but the concept and idea of letting them go is like, oh, no, I might need something, and it's been 20 years since you've accessed it. What do you think is behind that? And so today on the mat, I'm thinking about how we often identify with things outside of ourselves. We often place our value and worth on things outside of ourselves, belongings, the accumulation of items, whether they're stored or sitting on the mantle. And then when something happens, when we no longer have those items, we're sort of disrupted. We're interrupted within ourselves. Our sense of identity and worth becomes rattled. Why do you think that is? What causes us to, and not everyone, this doesn't apply to everyone. So, what causes some people to identify and hold on to things that truly do not serve them or where their value does not lie? Many people are often surprised at how easy it is for me to get rid of something. It's like, you just bought that. What do you mean? You're selling your couch? You just bought that couch. You're moving, but you just filled that space. All things come and go. There's movement inside of life. And when we feel, when I don't feel, but if I were to feel like I had to hold on to everything, it would feel like a limitation. It would feel like I didn't believe that I could rebuild, change, recreate myself, discover new things. Because that couch, I'm not identified with that couch. The money has already been spent and I want something different. Or this space has served, sort of its purpose. And now it's time to move on and beyond. When I allow myself to live inside the spaciousness of flow, of non-attachment, of not identifying with the things, I actually free myself up to the fullness of being who I am and exploring that. So are there things that you're holding on to that are keeping you stuck, stagnant, limited, reduced, that has you feeling like this is it, period, full stop. Even when perhaps there's something in you that wants to be different, that wants to let go of some things, access the storage space and get rid of it. But oh, the fullness of what's in there. But what if one day I need this thing that no longer exists, but only exists in your storage? Like, it's so antiquated that it actually might be worth something. It's so antiquated that it's gone obsolete and perhaps now is worth something, right? Maybe sell it. But when we think about the items that we're holding on to, the possessions, and for whatever reason we're able to think ourselves into keeping it, what does it do to the mind? You know, clutter has a way of cluttering the mind. You know, it's like the accumulation of dust. First, you don't see it, so your mind still feels spacious. Then a week goes by and there's another layer of dust, and you kind of still, is that a little bit of dust? So your mind still feels a little spacious. Another week goes by, another week goes by, and now you see the dust, and your mind has gone from feeling still a little spacious to a bit clogged, a bit fuzzy. Now, my patience is a little shorter. I'm feeling a little more irritable, and the dust is building and building and building. The clutter is growing and growing and growing, and so the mind is becoming more compressed. Whereas once you could feel the breeze in your mind, you could sort of feel the spaciousness, the creativity, the ideas, the flow. Now it's just dense. You know, they say our outer reflects our inner. And we can take our outer right in front of us and store it so it's not here anymore, but it's still here because we're still attached to the there. So what are you sort of accumulating and holding on to that's impacting you probably in ways you're not even aware? Do you find yourself a little shorter in patience? Quicker to agitate? And those are not synonymous with the accumulation of things. There are a whole host of reasons, especially for women in midlife. There are a whole host of reasons to be impatient and quick to agitate. So I'm not saying it's synonymous with that. I'm just saying, are you overly identifying with things in a way that it's adversely affecting you, impacting you negatively? And have you sat with that? Are you even aware? I had a patient who wanted to talk to me regularly, and she wanted me to help her clear the clutter. Now, this is a palliative care patient, but you know, as she was very much older and looking at her mortality and going from being a vibrant person in life to now, you know, in her late 80s. And she's like, oh, they're just boxes and boxes and boxes. And I just need to, you know, I need to, how can I go through these boxes? So we began to peel that back. How long has it been? What's inside the box? Is there a need to actually go through each box? And ultimately, she needed permission to let things go. Sometimes we're taught to hold on to that relationship. Hold on to your child. Don't let them get too far. Helicopter, helicopter. Hold on to, hold on. And it could be, maybe you were born in the Depression. There are a whole host of reasons, so there's no judgment. There is a pointing at a level of awareness, because when we become aware, then we can like peel back the layers and get to the root and then make decisions from awareness. We don't have to continue with the default behavior. We can change. You can change. I can change. Change is right here on the table for us all. So eventually I said to her, well, have you thought about, hiring like a shredding company to come out? Because it's just paperwork and it's been there for 20 years. Old clothes. I could see why you're not moving that forward. That's overwhelming. You may want to clear the clutter, but the clutter is so magnanimous that it's like, whoo, I want to do that, but let me just, maybe tomorrow. Meanwhile, you're adding to it. So tomorrow never comes. Today is tomorrow because you said it yesterday. Today is 5 tomorrows later because you said it last week. You know what I mean? So when I said, you can just basically close your eyes and shred, make sure that you have everything that you need without looking at the mound. Make sure that you have everything that you need at this point based on your current life. Access to your will, your advanced healthcare directive, your house, your car, all of the important things, whatever they are, make sure you have that, because they're likely not in that mound. And then let that go. Shred. Because here's the truth. Even if there is something important in there, you're not going to go through it because you haven't. And now you're older, less able, tired, unwell. And so when you die, because it's not an if, we're all going to die. When this person dies, the very thing that she says she didn't want is for anyone to have to go through it. That's exactly what's going to happen. And they will probably just throw it away. So when we think about these memories, when we think about holding on and passing things on, and then we die, people don't have the time, space, capacity, wherewithal to sift through 30 years of another's past. It's actually a distraction from the present grief. And it's stressful. So again, what are you holding on to that no longer serves you? So as you go about your day, perhaps you take a walk, perhaps you sit in your recliner, whatever quiet moment you have, reflect on that. Look around your life. See what you're holding on to that you haven't even interacted with, engaged with, thought about, looked at for years. And begin to, little by little, let something go so that you can free up not just your environment, your external environment, but the interior of your being so that you can get some spaciousness in your mind. You are not the things that you possess, nor am I. We are the fullness of who we are from the inside out, not from the outside in. May we be reminded of that. May you be reminded of that. May I be reminded of that. You are deserving of your own spaciousness. And sometimes you have to clear the environment. You have to release the things that are no longer serving you, be it something tangible and material that you can touch, a relationship that expired far too long ago that's just been lingering, a friendship that really is not deserving, whatever it is. A mindset, are you clinging to a mindset, holding on to a mindset, holding on to a resentment, holding on to an injustice? What are you, peel that back. Where in your life are you storing things? And it doesn't have to be truly a storage unit out there in the world somewhere that you're paying for, but it's an inner storage too. Where in your life are you storing things where it's just building up and you need to release it? And you need to realize that it isn't serving you. It's actually doing you a disservice. And so for me, I will go about this day, as I lift myself from the mat and think on that. Because clearing in order to arrive at greater spaciousness is something available to us all. And may we access that so that we feel freer within ourselves and our lives and in relation to others. So that's what I have for you today on the mat, and I appreciate you joining me here and giving thought to these things. May you go out into your day and into the world with awareness and presence and gratitude and love. And may you feel that in return. Thanking you for joining me on the mat.